to a brand spanking new episode of Kapow. I'm Sonya.
And I'm Al. That is a weird turn of phrase, by the way. Brand spanking new.
You've never spanked a brand before?
Not once, although I did once punch a guy dressed like Ronald McDonald.
Clown fear?
Clown fear. But let's get back on track.
Yes.
We're here in King's Comics today because the Guardians of the Galaxy movie has recently burst into a cinema near you.
Yes, like a balloon filled with aliens and 80s pop music.
So today we will be taking a look at some of the Guardians of the Galaxy comics you can lay your hands on to continue the adventure.
And we'll also be checking out some other comics that likewise feature animals that can talk, wear pants and shoot stuff.
Not to mention a chat about what we thought of the Guardians movie, and of course Ray will be in with a beautiful little collectible.
It's a big show.
It's a really big show, but I am still stuck on that image of a balloon full of aliens.
Yeah, but the funny part is, the balloon is filled with helium, so when they come out, they're all talking in funny, squeaky voices.
Take me to your leader! Earthling, stop laughing! I will destroy you!
Until recently, if you mentioned Guardians of the Galaxy to the average man in the street, they would have one question. That question would be, who the heck are the Guardians of the Galaxy?
See, for me, there's always one before that, which is, who are you? And why are you talking to me?
Okay, so maybe there's two questions. But with the recent movie release, a whole new range of questions have opened up, like, what's the deal with that raccoon? And is that guy really called Star-Lord?
Well, I personally am very glad to see one of the lesser-known groups get their own Guernsey at a movie, not least of all because it opens up interest in the comics. But what Guardians comics are there? We are so glad you asked.
We are. There are a huge range of options for you to head to, but it is always best to start at the beginning. A good place to start is the Guardians of the Galaxy Tomorrow's Avengers trade.
Starting with Thor Annual Number 6, first published in 1977, this collection shows that the Guardians of the Galaxy weren't always the quirky group that you see in the movie. Rather, they were a more standard group of heroes, although in this incarnation they hailed from the 31st century.
This collection also gives you some knowledge of classic villains like Korvac, the High Evolutionary, and the Collector.
But I know what you're gonna say. We want to see the raccoon! So, let's jump forward in time to the current Guardians roster of Rocket Raccoon, Gamora, Groot, Drax the Destroyer, and Star-Lord. Stop it. Now, these guys have only been a team since the title relaunch in 2008, although they have been around individually a lot longer.
Yeah, and there are many options for you to look at if you want to get yourself up to speed on this team. One worth mentioning is the Guardians of the Galaxy Prelude trade, released as a primer for the movie. There are a couple of classic storylines included, which are good. There's an issue 0 of the new Marvel Now Guardian series included, which we've reviewed favourably before, and there are some new stories written as a direct tie-in to the movie, which are pretty lackluster.
Yeah, honestly, I have yet to read a movie tie-in comic that wasn't an ugly, rushed mess.
Yeah.
In the end, you're probably better off just trawling for some classic storylines and then checking out the new stuff.
Yeah, and there are some new series with these characters that are well worth a look. Besides the Guardians of the Galaxy series, which is written by Brian Michael Bendis and is very good indeed, there are others like Legendary Star-Lord, written by Sam Humphries, which is a lot of fun and really shows Peter Quill at his roguish best.
Personally, I really enjoy the Rocket Raccoon series, which has art and words by Scotty Young. It's got a more cartoonish comedy angle that works perfectly for this ragtag crew in general, and for the Rocket and Groot partnership in particular.
There's even an option for the under-10s, with Guardians of the Galaxy Beginnings, a storybook-style retelling of Star-Lord's origin written by Tomas Palacios and illustrated by Ron Lim and Dean White.
So, in the end, there really is no excuse for walking into that movie without knowing every last detail about this group of interstellar misfits.
Yeah, unless, of course, you want to go and see the movie without having researched meticulously every detail about it.
Yeah, you know what, sometimes I forget that not everybody's like me.
Yeah.
But you know what? After you've seen the movie, you'll probably want to know more, so now you know what's out there.
Absolutely, and if you've got a favourite classic storyline of Rocket, Groot, Gamora, Drax, or Star-Lord, let us know on Facebook or Twitter.
It's really not an impressive name.
Hi, Ray.
Hey Sonya, hey guys.
I'm really glad you've brought this piece in.
Yes, I thought you would be. Studio Ghibli is famous for and throw the poor more fish characters.
Anthropomorphic.
That's what I said. Anyway,
course it
think
was.
of Pom Poko and Porco Rosso and Howl's Moving Castle, for example, and, well, so the list goes on. But today, we're taking a look at this music box by Benelux Limited, which features the Baron. This statuette is based on a character from the film Whisper of the Heart, written by Hayao Miyazaki and directed by Yoshifumi Kondo. The figure is made from polystone resin and acrylic paint, stands 25 centimeters tall and weighs 550 grams. It features the detailed figure of the Feline Baron in a 1940s inspired suit standing on a faux stained glass window base.
Fans of this film know that the Baron is a statuette on display in a shop within the film, and is given life by Shizuku when she writes a story about him.
I was surprised that this pose isn't the same as it is in the film. In fact, the film shows two different versions of this statuette, none of which is represented here.
True, but the genteel qualities of the Baron still shone through.
Yes.
With his top hat behind his back and a tailored beige suit, he stands poised to receive welcome.
Yeah, don't get me wrong, I still like the sculpt. The suit looks great, especially against the rich green of his vest, and I like that the top hat could hold a trinket or hidden item if you wished. The cane, slightly elevated, provides a little movement too, as though he's about to tap it and demand attention.
The paintwork and detailing is nice too. The shoes have a leathery look to them, and there's a soft brushing of the resin around the head to create the appearance of hair.
Yeah, I thought the head sculpt is good, including all the little work with the whiskers, but oddly enough, if you look at this figure from above, he starts to turn into Evil Cat. So I'd suggest if you were going to display him, put him on a shelf somewhere that's elevated. What I didn't like so much, however, was the purple colour inside the ears, and I would have also liked more detail in the eye instead of that solid pearly green.
Really?
Yeah.
I really like his eyes. They kind of look like when they shimmer at Shizuku in the film.
Okay.
And the green is echoed in his vest and then again in that stained glass on the base.
Yeah, well, this base seems to be a bit of a standard across a line of Ghibli figures that Benelink are producing. And if you look closely in each of them, you will see that there are Easter eggs hidden within the stained window glass. Now, if we look underneath, you'll find a simple base with a simple handle. Give it a few twists and it starts to play. Can any of you pick the tune? That's right, it's Take Me Home Country Roads by John Denver. Now, this might seem like a bit of an odd choice of a song, that is, unless you've actually seen the film. And both of us, by the way, recommend you should because it's a beautiful tale.
It is. I really love music boxes. They're so sweet and kind of magical.
They are, yeah. They're up there with wind-up toys and cuckoo clocks for me. Yeah.
Now, there is actually a companion piece to the Baron, yes?
There is, yeah, the Louise. She only features for a very short time in the film itself, but she's part of the story of this character. And yes, she is wearing a vintage red dress, carrying a bouquet of flowers, and she's on a similar base.
Yeah, and I'm sure fans of the film will want to reunite these two finally.
Yes.
I think this is absolutely charming, and I'm giving the Baron a buy.
Okay, fair enough. Look, I really wanted the base to light up. Take advantage of those Easter eggs that are in there and shine out, and I don't know, just to make it more magical. I don't have anything super critical to say about the sculpt itself, but I just wanted a little bit more from it, so I'm only going to give it a borrow.
Yeah. I'm going to turn him back on again. Hang on a second.
Yep. Take me home, country roads, to the place.
The word anthropomorphic was originally coined in reference to gods taking on human form in Greek myth. But nowadays, it's used in reference to anything being given a human characteristic, and it's a common theme in comics.
Yeah, and while Game and Sandman series showed that you can give human form to practically anything, it's usually animals that are made into people.
And as Guardians of the Galaxy shows us, the only thing better than animal people are animal people holding massive guns. So we've decided to look at a couple of comics that focus on exactly that. Starting off with Richard Starking's Elephant Men.
As is so often the case in these stories, Elephant Men finds its origin in the lab of an evil and demented scientist. In this case, one Dr. Niken, who has the simple dream of breeding and training an army of half-animal, half-human super soldiers.
It's a pretty brutal story, and even when the United Nations find out about Niken's experiments and free the Elephant Men, their woes are only just beginning, as they are released to find their own place in a world that mostly hates and fears them.
Elephant Men is a spin-off to the series Hip Flask and features the same lead character, Hieronymus Hip Flask, a hippo hybrid that works for the intelligence agency, investigating crimes involving elephant men, along with his partner Ebenezer Ebony Hyde.
I'm a big fan of the slightly grubby, futuristic look of this series. There's a very Blade Runner feel to the whole thing, and the character models of the Elephant Men are fantastic.
Yeah, Maratat's artwork gives this comic a distinct personality, sometimes cartoonish and drenched in cyber noir. It's a big buy from me.
Yeah, there's a great scope to this story, and despite its very grim themes, it's also aware of its own humour and the absurdity of the premise. It's a buy from me as well.
Our next title is a more recent release from Boom Studios. Six Gun Gorilla, written by Simon Spurrier with art by Jeff Stokely.
There's honestly little I like better than a good sci-fi / western, two genres that just meld perfectly with their themes of danger, innovation, and exploring new frontiers.
And why not throw in a cigar-smoking gorilla with massive six guns?
Why not indeed? Our story takes place in a dimension known as the Blister, where a years-old civil war between the Earth government and the settlers is fought using pneumatic guns and massive tortoises.
Yeah, since for some reason combustion doesn't work on the Blister, so no gunpowder and no engines. And that's just one of the many quirks of this place that shows there's more going on here than any of the combatants have yet guessed.
And into this war-torn dimension comes an unnamed man whose only wish is to die for the benefit of the audience back on Earth who are watching through his eyes.
So there's a Truman Show element here as well, and that's even before the gorilla shows up.
Yeah.
There is a lot going on in this story, and it's a very sharp and intelligent read.
It is, isn't it?
Yeah.
I've got to say, there's been a real jump in quality for Boom Studios over the last year or so.
Yep.
And it's books like this that are the reason why. It's got this attention-grabbing premise laid over some really quite thought-provoking ideas. I enjoyed the hell out of it. It's a buy from me.
I just want to focus on the art just for a second.
Sure.
Stokely has a style that sometimes reminded me of Raphael Albuquerque, but with a more cartoonish focus. It's perfectly suited to this surprisingly deep story. This was a really fun read, and not at all what you would expect just looking at the cover. It's definitely a buy from me.
Hey, if you were a mad scientist,
Yeah.
I say if, what sort of hybrid animal would you want to create?
Oh, come on, it has to be a flock of flying monkeys.
That makes perfect sense.
Yeah.
I'd be going for like robot dolphins with laser eyes. And legs. And jets.
Oh god.
Big jets out of the blowhole. Be fantastic.
So obviously we're doing a bit of a Guardians of the Galaxy special, and we went along to see the film. As always, Sonya, what are your thoughts?
Loved it. Absolutely loved it.
Great.
I laughed my head off the entire way through. It was just so fun. I do have some nitpicky little problems with it, mainly with two of the characters, with Drax and with Gamora. Drax is Drax the Destroyer, and yes, Batista is a monster of a man. Like, he looked the part, fantastically so.
Yeah.
Kind of every so often I'd catch myself looking at him just going,
How are you human?
how do you exist? But character-wise, he was just a big bruiser. I never really thought that he had, Drax the Destroyer kind of
Yeah, I've always
capabilities.
sort of pictured him as kind of like the Hulk with a brain.
With a brain, yeah, like
it's-
this
yeah.
big guy. So then when he had his fights with Ronan, it wasn't as strong as it could have been. You don't realise quite how powerful the other character is because Drax is just a guy who's kind of good at fighting. And then with Gamora, I mean, she's supposed to be the most dangerous woman in the universe. And again, I didn't feel it. Like, Nebula was scarier than she was, and they're supposed to be kind of equals in this kind of world. And I can't
Waiting for her to unleash.
unleash. Like, I wanted her to cut sick and go crazy.
Super
like
crazy ninja style.
super crazy. Gamora is, she's supposed to be terrifyingly deadly, and I feel like they were using her to kind of push the empathy, and they were using her to be the girl, basically, and that's kind of annoying.
And where did she keep getting all her outfits from?
That annoyed you
It
the
did
entire.
annoy
He
me.
kept
There's
talking
like
about it.
5 costume changes that she just seems to pull out of nowhere. I don't know.
Did you enjoy the film, though, Al?
I did. That's the thing. I did enjoy the film, but here's the thing. This is a film where, where sometimes you see a film and you go, okay, well, I'm going to step back. I'm being a reviewer here. I'm going to step back and I'm going to analyze this. Don't do that.
do that.
That's a massive mistake
Nope.
with this film, because then you start seeing the plot holes. You see the mistakes they made. Stuff like, for me, the big bum note was Ronan.
Yeah.
This is a guy who's supposed to be the big bad. He's the big scary guy, and really it could have just been a cardboard cutout with "I am the bad guy" written on the front. He didn't seem to have any reason for what he was doing.
Yeah.
He was like, "Yes, I'm evil and I hate planets." That was his whole deal.
Yeah.
And that was a bit of a disappointment. I mean, I think Nebula was there to kind of lend a little bit of dimension to the bad guys, but not enough to offset.
Props to Karen Gillan, though. She did a fantastic job as Nebula.
Not a trace of the accent.
No,
Yeah.
and it's really interesting, I think, when you have a character or an actor, because she will always be Amy Pond from Doctor Who to me, but I didn't think of Doctor Who once.
No, I actually forgot it was her.
Which is really cool.
Yeah, and I mean, that's the thing. If you don't step back and take this analytical view, you'll have a whale of a time.
It's so much fun.
I like you, it's, probably people heard me laughing over you occasionally. It was mostly just you. But I had a great time.
Yep.
Amazing soundtrack, just
Great soundtrack.
really
Great
funny,
soundtrack.
brilliant action, and it kind of tapped into films that I loved when I was a kid. And I think that's why they were going, there's an 80s theme here, even though it's a space story.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And there was echoes of characters that I loved. There was a bit of Marty McFly. There was a bit of Indiana Jones
Yeah,
in there, especially
definitely.
with Star-Lord. He's not quite the consummate hero. He's a guy who just gets thrown into this situation and does the best he can.
Has to deal with it.
And that really had echoes of those 80s adventure films that I
Yeah.
loved.
Totally.
And I think the fact that they're doing that really will make it work for not just the young kids coming in going, look at the raccoon, but also the older fans who are just going, this really speaks to something I loved when I was a kid.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, I think some of those comic moments will probably go over younger audiences' their
Yeah.
heads.
Yes.
Because they're certainly catering to a bit more of an older audience, which is refreshing, I thought. And yeah, look, the film is very funny. Funnier than I thought it was going to be. I actually thought it was going to be a lame film. But it's a good introduction to these characters who I knew nothing about.
Yep.
And it has a few continuity issues, as you said, a few plot holes. Some of the characters and the actors playing them I didn't really like too much, but overall I just had a very good time. In fact,
Fun.
yeah. Look, it was another sort of moment in the cinema where I came out like Avengers going, I feel elated from this experience.
Yeah.
I had a good time. I would go back and see that again.
Yeah.
That was it. But what about this new ensemble, this cast? Do you think that this direction from Marvel is going to be successful, or people are going to pull back from that? They're going to want their iconic heroes?
I don't know.
or-
I think it's time to have this kind of shift. I mean, we've got Iron Man, we've got Thor, we've got Captain America, we've got all the big boys already in play. And I think it's really nice. I think you can get to a point, and I know that I'm feeling a bit kind of, it's like, enough. I've had enough of seeing the big boys going up against the big aliens. It's fun to come across a character and a group of characters where I go, I have no idea how this is, and I'm not going to get annoyed at anything that they
that's
mess
not
up.
the same
That
in the
didn't
comics.
happen.
Yes, yeah.
So I think it's a really clever move that Marvel's done, bringing in this whole group of people that you don't have to have any concept whatsoever.
Yeah.
These are these guys, come and have fun.
And they didn't bother doing any of the usual Easter eggs that you've seen in all these Marvel films,
Yeah.
where it's look,
Tie-ins.
there's the
wink, wink.
vulture wings off in the background, or I mean, we did have Stan Lee pop up, but they kept that minimal.
And well done.
Thankfully, it made
That was
sense.
better.
I thought it was
worked
well
a lot
done.
better than the Spider-Man
Some of the
2. That
time,
was
yeah.
terrible. But in this, they didn't bother doing all that. There's no Nick Fury popping up and going, "Hello, Guardians, you're going to join the Avengers now."
Yeah.
It just, it kept it to this contained story, and I think that is going to pay off.
I think so.
Yep, I think so too. What about favourite characters out of the ensemble? Is there a favourite character that sort of stuck out at you?
I really liked Groot. He's a giant tree man, but so adorable.
Yeah.
And they his character, what they did with his character and what he could actually do was really cool and not what I would have expected. So
Yeah.
I like him.
Okay. Well,
I didn't really find myself fixating on one character. I think they tried to do a very balanced ensemble.
I thought so.
And whether some of the characters were all that I wanted them to be or not,
Yeah.
there was a balanced approach
There was
to
a
them.
beautiful ensemble
And
to
I
it, yeah.
was digging them as a team, and I think that's a success.
Yeah, I thought so too. If I couldn't choose a favourite. If I had to, it'd probably be Star-Lord, and that's weird because I don't usually pick the main guy. But I thought, he's just really interesting and fun, and just
He had that Indiana Jones thing.
he did.
Yeah.
Well, that's what we thought, and here's what some of you thought.
I thought it was really good and I loved the funny side to it.
Yeah, it was hilarious. I couldn't stop laughing and I just feel like dancing now.
I know the music was
It was
incredible.
awesome.
Yeah. Yeah.
My mind is blown. Like,
Yeah?
honestly, that's the best Marvel movie they've done.
I had an absolute ball. It was hilarious. A lot funnier than I was expecting.
Have you read the comics before?
Very, very recently. I've just done the Bendis run, like the last 16 issues or something like that. And yeah, it's a funnier film than it is a comic, to be honest.
The thing I liked about the comics was that they're fun, they're funny, and they've got a great sense of humour to it. You don't see in other comic book films a lot.
Yeah.
And this was just straight out of the park.
Yeah.
Wall-to-wall comedy, wall-to-wall action. Loved every second of it. So.
And do you have a particular favourite character?
Well, Groot dances a lot and I enjoyed that, so definitely Groot.
And that's the end of another big episode of Kapow.
Absolutely. Don't forget to let us know what you thought of the Guardians of the Galaxy film on Facebook, Twitter, or here on the comments.
Absolutely, and don't forget to subscribe to our channel to keep up to date with all the news, reviews, and our currently undiagnosed insanity.
Yeah. Till next time, guys.
Bye.